I'm Coach Michael, former world number 2 and coach of international champions. Today we're going to be talking about pressure buttons or cushion plungers or burger buttons. They have all of these names. First we're going to start with a little history lesson. It used to be called the burger button because it was invented by a guy called Victor Burger. He invented it in the late 60s and it soon became super popular, and now honestly I cannot remember seeing a Recurve bow not using one. Sadly, Victor passed away in 2016, but I think it's incredibly amazing how he made an invention which took over the entire target world, and every Olympic medalist, every world champion, all of these champions from around the world, we all use this cushion plunger, or as I wish it was still called, the burger button. Anyway, let's move on. I've come up with 2 choices for this. The first one is the more economical choice, and that's the Shibuya DX button. Now, with both of these buttons I'm going to recommend, they have been around since before my archery career even started. I know, a long time ago, since the 80s. This button is being a good benchmark of good quality. Performance is definitely there. There's no issues with that. They modified it maybe 10 or 15 years ago, adding in a little brass tip rather than just the Teflon tip, which used to just wear into a little semicircle where your arrow went. This is now not a problem. So it's a good economical choice. It comes in at around $40 to $50 with a whole range of colors. It really is a good choice. But this next one I'm going to recommend, as always, a little bit more fancy, a little bit more professional, and has got a couple of little touches that just make it the clear, undisputed number 1. The Biter Plunger. This cushion plunger dominates the target scene. World Cups, national championships, there is really no dispute. This is the number 1 button in the world and has been since Mr. Werner Biter invented it back in, or designed it back in 1986. It has truly been a dominating force. I think at most Olympics, over 80% of the athletes use this button. One of the best things about this button is if you purchase it now, you can use it for your entire career. I had 10 years as a professional recurve archer, and I used the same Biter button their entire time. And then I gave it to a clubmate because it was still just as good as the day I got it. And if the tip does show any signs of wear, it comes with multiple spares and you can change them super easy and super accurately. And really, that's the reason why this button is number 1. Because of the graded scale on the side, you can take this button apart to its individual components, clean them all, put them back together, set it up on the same number scale, and you are confident your arrow is going to be back on target exactly where it was. And you might ask, well, how often do you need to do this? If I spent a day, let alone a weekend in England shooting in the rain, which sadly we had to do quite a lot, at the end of that, if I went to my button on the Monday morning, it would just feel a little bit rough, a little bit sticky. So honestly, finish a day shooting in the rain, clean your button with some tissue paper. As long as I used to take a photo of where the number was before I take it apart, clean it all, put it back to the same place, you're going to be back on target. And really, that's the reason why this button's number 1. Another interesting point though is I can buy another button, even if it's 10 years later. Set them to the same numbers, those buttons are really going to be extremely close together. So those of you who are lucky enough to have a spare bow, or maybe you have an indoor and an outdoor setup, you can just change the buttons around by using the numbers, record them in your book, and you have a history of how your bow shoots its best. And you can tell if anything has moved, and you can put it all back together in the same place. Now, these buttons are a little bit more expensive. These come in at around $150 or $10 more if you want to also have Hoyt written on the side. Why not? But it really is investment in your career. And honestly, there's no reason you can't have one button for your entire time in this wonderful sport. And with so many colors to choose from, There's no reason you can't have this match your bow and really look something special. And I almost forgot, one of the other things I love about my biter button is the fact it comes with a biter spanner. And because of this, I can screw the button into my bow, finger tight, and then I just give it a little nip with that spanner. And I never, ever, in 10 years as a professional archer, I never had that button move or come undone. So it's just a little thing, but that spanner enables you to make sure your button is fixed. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Whether you learned something or whether I just said lots of things you already agree with. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments down below. I'll get back to you. And if anyone would like any online coaching sessions, one-to-one, there's a link in my description to register for a course. Okay, good shooting.